All right, what's up, everybody?
Shit,
Oh,
I
wait,
can't hear
hold on
anyone.
a second.
Hang on.
Crap. There we go.
Okay.
All right, can everybody hear everybody?
I can.
How do I unmute my speaker?
Click unmute.
I can't. Hang on. Oh, there we go.
All right, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Cool.
All right.
Well, we are live. We are rolling.
Sweet.
And welcome everybody to Of Mind and Metal podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Nick Liebel. And today we are joined by the Nolan Miller.
Oh, no.
Nolan, you want to turn yourself up a little bit? If
Oh, yeah, sure. Is that any better?
Yes, thank you.
Sweet.
Damn, he looks good.
You do, for real, dude.
Man, it's nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
You too. So, what y'all been doing so far today? How'd y'all start your days?
Well, I got a screw taken out of my tire, so that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been leaking for weeks. Thought I'd get that figured out.
Yeah. Dang.
So
And then I mowed the
it's
lawn.
been like leaking
So-
air.
Oh,
out of your
yeah.
tire.
Oh, yeah. My family and I went to Myrtle Beach a couple weeks back, and halfway back, I filled up the tire, and by the time I got back into Ohio, it was down to 26 pounds. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I've just been letting it run. So
Oh dang. Jeez, Myrtle Beach is pretty. I've had family go out there and they love it.
it's definitely nice.
Yeah.
My grandparents have a condo down there, so we get to go fairly frequently.
Nice. Very cool. Nick, you went for a run this morning, yeah?
Yep. Not my thing. I was running with some triathletes, and it's just I'm not gonna do that again. It was just awful. Like, I'm just not built to run. They were taller than me, much taller than me, much lighter than me, and they didn't have any mass. So like, it was just, I was trying to keep up, and I did for a while, and then it just, and we were in like the hills on the trails, and a trail mile is way harder than like a flat mile.
yeah.
Flat mile, yeah.
Like, because I feel the need to like explode up through inclines.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't even help it. It's in my nature.
Right.
And then I'm like exhausted because I just keep bursting, and then eventually you just run out of gas.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a lot of walking, but there was somebody else there that like wasn't as that couldn't keep up either. So we bonded over that, and just kind of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for a run. This will be fun, and then I immediately regret it. So
Yeah.
Nolan, you've been doing a lot of running lately.
Yeah. I ran my first 5K this summer. Yeah, a lot of running. Probably more miles than I've ever run in my entire life, like within 2 weeks of training for that.
Do you enjoy it, or do you just like?
Yeah, I actually do
Okay.
enjoy it. Like the first time I went out for a run, was basically just because as you know, I started working out in December, and then all the stuff that we were all doing at the gym together, like the front half of it at least was pretty cardio intense. So I just kind of wanted to see like what I could do, and so like I put my shoes on and went outside after work one day and was like, I went 2 miles without stopping, and I was like, okay. So this is a new thing that I'm able to do. So then I just got really into like figuring out how to run better and how to get faster, things like that.
Yeah.
But I find it's really nice to just get out and just it does the same thing for walking, I guess, as me or for me. Like I like walking, I like being outside. I just like moving, going somewhere. And running, I guess, is just doing that, but faster.
So are you like a runner? Do you identify as a runner now? Like, is that your? Is that
I
your?
mean, I would say like maybe not the past couple weeks, but yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a runner. I was shooting for under a half hour on my 5K, and I think it wound up being 29 minutes and either 39 or 19 seconds. We're gonna go with 39. But yeah, so I got underneath the half hour, and now I've been looking at just how fast you have to run for certain like initial strength tests for military requirements, and so just trying to get faster doing that.
Okay, that's awesome. So are you doing any lifting anymore, or are you just like, nope?
Well, no, I'm definitely still doing some lifting. I switched over mostly to calisthenics actually in the past couple of weeks, so I'm doing a lot of push-ups and pull-ups, and that's like every other day. But then I'll also throw in some kind of accessory lift, which is a pretty generous term, because benching is an accessory lift sometimes.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, like we said, I mean, you just look totally different.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I like. Well, Ben even asked me for a picture to put up on the Instagram, and I was like, I don't think I have any that look like me anymore. Like, I had one from the beginning of the summer, and that's the only one.
well, Ben and I have talked a lot about like how, a lot of people in the quarantine are really into letting everybody know what they're doing all the time, and yeah, but they're really not doing anything, except like documenting. They just
Yeah.
to try to be relevant. So, but what's really cool is that like it was like, holy crap, like I mean, I don't know. I mean, when are we gonna have like that much time to just put your head down and just latch onto a goal? But I mean, dude, you took that to the nth degree. I mean, like you're doing base now. So like what was it that like that you just said, you know what, I'm just gonna go? Because I mean, some people when they get alone, they just shut down. I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of people, but I've heard that some people are just, they're just they're couch potatoing. They're just.
Well, I mean, even from the beginning of this whole quarantine thing, like I felt a little bit guilty because when I found out everything was canceled and everything was closed, I was like a little bit excited. I was like, man, all this stuff that I've wanted to do for so long, like I can just do it now. Like I have all this time to myself.
Yeah.
And like right at the beginning, it didn't go super well. When I was still in Arkansas and everything. And that was when the gym was still open. Once they closed that, I was like, all right, what am I going to do sitting here all alone? So I did the 14-hour drive back to Ohio. And I think being around my family has helped a lot because I haven't had to be like completely socially cut off. So I can always go and recharge with stuff. But I mean, I've had a list of things that I've wanted to do for like years. Like buying a bass, learning how to play bass. There was a piece that I wrote and eventually recorded over the summer that I've been wanting to write for a while. So there's always like these little projects that I have in my head that I want to get done. And most of the time I just don't have time to do it just because of school or work or whatever it is. And now that there's no like real social life outside of my family that I'm like mandated to be allowed to do, I just have a whole bunch of time on my hands, and like if I'm just sitting there watching TV or whatever or playing video games, I just kind of feel crappy. Like I want to be working towards something. Like I always say that like I don't even really know how to do things half-heartedly. Like even to the point where I'm like playing video games, like I want to get better at them. Like, like I mean, I guess everyone does, but like I'll go to the point like okay, I might get judged for this, but like when Fortnite was a big thing, like I was very big into it. Like, but to the point where like I would join like private lobbies and I would be practicing and stuff. Like, oh man, like I just don't know how to do anything without trying to be the best that I can be at it.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Nolan. I know that was like, I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but I also have started playing Fortnite over this because my brother's like 10 or 12 and he got into it, and I was like, oh, let me try this out. And like, I'll take all the hate for it, but it's so fun.
Dude, the last time that I paid attention, they added planes, and that was my last straw. I was like, okay, I'm good. This game's getting a little too insane.
Here's my thing about Fortnite. Here's my biggest qualm with the game. You can't like improve skills. Like that's what I hate about it. Like you can't make the player in the game better.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Like that's what bothered me about it. It's that like you can't upgrade the player. You know, I mean, I'm not a gamer at all, but my mom like mailed me my brother's Xbox 360 and I was playing an outdated version of Madden. And I read a book written by an NFL GM and I would keep notebooks of like scouting players like on the game and like managing the salary cap and like, you know, releasing players that I didn't want to pay, you know, overpay. Like I'm with you though. Like I couldn't do it half-hearted, but I mean, I didn't get a lot done for about maybe 2 weeks, but I won 5 Super Bowls. But
it sounds like you did get a lot done.
Yeah, I did. So, and the owner of my team was Dale Warren. So, but I mean, I built a new stadium. I mean, we made a lot of money, and I had an awesome draft, you know. But yeah, I feel you with that. You can't do anything half-hearted. Like you just gotta start improving, taking steps forward, and
yeah. So yeah. Nolan, so you said composing a piece and recording, like what have been like the projects that you've been working on during this quarantine, this period of time?
Yeah, so I had a piece that I had started working on for solo trombone and electronics. It was basically just fixed media, so nothing too interactive. But I'd written like the first 30 seconds of it or whatever, probably towards the like maybe in January or February, and I kind of just sat on my hard drive for a while. And then the pandemic all hit, and I was like, okay, well, guess I should probably finish this because I have like 30 like half finished pieces sitting on that hard drive. So I was like, I should probably finish one of them. And the piece was actually called Masks, which I had no idea how fitting that was going to wind up being. But yeah, so it wound up being, I think it was like 6 minutes, something like that. It's the most substantial like solo piece that I'd ever written. And I wound up recording it all into Logic, putting a little video with it, and I just put it out on Facebook. But yeah, that was the first time I'd done any kind of like recorded solo thing, just kind of for fun, and especially like anything that I'd written. So that was kind of a fun little project. I've also I actually set out an entire like summer schedule, like kind of like a syllabus, like of things that I just wanted to go through, which wound up being a little bit too ambitious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went pretty well, and I was sticking to it pretty well. And then we went on vacation, and I was like, man, doing nothing is also kind of fun.
It really is.
So yeah, I didn't quite stick to it as well as I had hoped. But that was also around the time that I bought my bass trombone. So my goals kind of shifted and changed there as well. I also found out about the Pershing Zone audition that's happening this fall. So all those things kind of factored into my schedule, taking a pretty radical like left turn. And so I shifted all my practice over to those excerpts, which a lot of it is like review and just trying to clean up things. And then also just trying to learn a new instrument. Kind of.
Yeah. It is new in its own respects. Yeah. Okay. So
it's the same, but completely different.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So me personally, I'm curious about this, and for you as well, Nick, but so when you didn't know that there was an audition, was your practice sort of similar to like what it is now, like in preparation for this audition? Because this is kind of where I'm at. So I had not felt this super big desire to practice for like a long time over these like past 5 months. Like once school got out, I like played my horn consistently for a couple weeks, and then I took like a month and a half off, and then I like kind of have started getting back into it like off and on. But I've noticed that if I have like a solid picture in my head of like something I'm competing for, and it's not necessarily for competition's sake, but it's like, all right, like let's see how best I can prove myself to myself or to the judges or whoever you decide to put that forward to. Because like for me, I don't really have like grad school is like it's close, but it's still kind of like fuzzy right now. So I don't have a very clear thing of what I'm exactly shooting for. Whereas you have this audition. Another case is like, so I'm training for a strongman competition in almost 1 month. Like it's a little over a month. And so I find every time I go into the gym, I'm like really excited to like, I don't care what day it is. I'm excited to pick up that piece of equipment and put it back down. Like whether it's a stone, whether it's a log, whatever. So, and I'm like totally juiced about that, but trombone, I don't have as much of a, I don't know. I don't have as much of a target, I guess. So what was your practice like? And I don't know, what are your general thoughts on that?
So I mean, like in my practice definitely shifted when I incorporated the audition, but I think that's just mostly because the way that you prepare for an audition is very different from how you practice in general.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I mean, maybe not that it should be, but I mean, when you're practicing for an audition, you're trying to find all the little things that you might get cut for. Whereas I find when I'm practicing just like for me or for a recital or something, I'm trying to really strengthen the things that I know are going to be either impressive or showy or whatever it is. I mean, I'm still going in and trying to find those little things, but I'm not quite as concerned about it as where like recording for like a pre-qualification thing is like, I need to make sure that this is like they have no reason to cut me at all, and I can worry more about the artistry if I wind up moving on to the next round. But I think in terms of like the motivation, like to play, which I think is what you were kind of touching on, when I set out that whole little schedule, I had like weekly goals set out for myself. And a list of things that I wanted to have learned or like be able to play by the end of the summer. So that was like a little bit of, I don't even know what to call it. It gave me something to work towards. And I was planning on recording all of those things just so that I had, like a reason to do them. I kind of wanted to put them all online too, just so that there was always that thing that I was working towards. Because if I'm putting my playing out there, then I'm going to try and be as meticulous as I can with it. And I don't think that I would be. I like to say that I would be as meticulous if I wasn't going to put it out, but I feel like probably subconsciously it wouldn't. I just wouldn't have the drive to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think a lot of times how I deal with off-season training for anything really is like Nolan said, you set little goals, but I set little goals that are in relation to the end goal. So you got to imagine, like I almost think about it like, what do you want the person that you play for to say about your playing, or like what do you want them to hear? And then you have to reflect and look at yourself now and say, am I even where are my biggest deficiencies? And then you just work backwards from there. And you say, okay, like if I do a little bit of this every single day until then, that's really going to help me out, you know? And that helps me like when I'm super far out, so that you're not just like, oh, like I only have a month. Like imagine like, are there things that you wish you would have done 6 months ago that would have helped you with your strongman training now?
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
So it's kind of like finals week, you know, everybody always freaks out for finals week and everybody gets way better at finals week, but it's like, but if you can get into that finals week mentality, like right now where you're at, not that you have to be that intense necessarily, but you could be that consistent, you know, like set those really specific goals so that you can just say, okay, I'm just going to pick up the trombone and I'm just going to do these things. And then I'm just going to put it down. But you're like planting and then reinforcing seeds that are going to help you later, because, especially something that I'm noticing with my marching band is that the kids just need reps. Like they just need reps. Like they don't need to do a rep and then listen to me talk about it for 5 minutes or listen to somebody tell them you got to focus. They just need reps. They just need to keep doing it. And I think some skills and some muscles just respond, 6 months over a 6-month period. You're just going to get better if you're practicing, maybe an excerpt really slow. That's really difficult. If you just play it slowly every single day, even if you're just reinforcing those little patterns. But that helps me because, just think about your strongman training now. And what do you wish that you would have done 6 months ago? Okay, well, fast forward to the future, to your grad school audition, and say, what do you not want to be kicking yourself about then? So, I don't know. But I'll also say that my mentality doesn't really change that much when I'm like for the audition. I know Nolan, I know you said that it does, but I'll argue in a way that like your momentum doesn't. You're just shifting it. And when you get into a groove of like working out a lot, like when we were doing our warm up and then going in, our work capacity was really high. We could go. When I went back to the gym, I was gassed after pushing the sled. Like I was like for a couple weeks, like I was hurting. Like I could not do the same. I couldn't just jump back in. However, once you get into that routine, then like Nolan, you said, you just totally shifted like all this energy you were doing. Okay, now I'm going to do a base. I'm going to do this, but you were already running. You were already getting into the good word. You were already doing all these really positive things. So you had like so much mental momentum in your life. You had so much momentum. Okay, now I'm just going to shift this energy. And it's a different focus and your mindset maybe is different, but at the same time, paradoxically, your mindset hasn't changed because you're just like on this wavelength of just getting things done. So
Yeah,
I think
and I think
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think like kind of to add on to like what you were saying, most of my mindset. So I mean, like I've lost a lot of weight, as you can probably see.
How much?
Not really trying to pat myself on the back or anything,
Tell
but
us.
like most of that is nutrition, and like one of the biggest things that you find in like nutrition coaches like that are successful and have successful clients, they're always championing like a sustainable lifestyle. And I found that like the more that you can incorporate sustainability into like everything that you do, I think the more successful that you'll be, because consistency, as you've already said, Nick, is like probably the most important thing. Like you have to be it, like if you want to do strongman training or you want to prepare really well for an audition or go to grad school or whatever it is, if you're consistent with all the work that you're doing, you're going to get much more out of that than say you go like really intensely hard, like say for finals week, like leading up. Like you don't really learn anything in finals week, like I would argue. Like you just basically prepare for a test and then you take it and then you kind of forget most of it.
Well,
But
you
if you're
learn
consistently
Yeah.
yeah, but if you're consistently taking like your capacity and like you're really measuring it out and saying like, okay, I can do this today, but I could also do this every day. Like it's not a whole lot, but I know that I can do this every day. And it's like, especially people who like, and not to go back to the weight analogy, but like people who have like a lot of weight to lose, like one of the best ways to get people who already live a fairly sedentary lifestyle is to like really incrementally add exercise in. And it's just like, okay, well, can you walk around your block like every day? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I could do that. And then, well, then could you go the next block down like the next week? And then like, and so when you do, I think when you do things that way, you're just training consistency, which is so vitally important in just about anything that you want to do, in my opinion.
And with like the diet stuff, like I think that you just need to, like, people also just know what like a lot of people know what they should or shouldn't do, but it's just a matter of making those decisions. However, that can be really daunting. So I think, like you're saying, Nolan, what's important is that you just find something, you find a bunch of little things that you can just do every day that are just really easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, and I mean, it just adds up over time. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, like, cause anyone, like, listen, like anyone can lose the first 5 pounds. Like basically stop eating for like 5 days. Like, but you're never going to like, that's never going to be something that you can sustain, right? Like, so you can like kind of freak out about where you are with your trombone playing and practice for 8 hours. Like, and you might be able to do that for a week, 2 weeks, but you're going to burn out eventually. So I think finding that balance is really important, to the point where like you want to find the limits of how much you can focus on a certain thing and how hard you can work at a certain thing, before you completely lose the desire to do it. But you also, you don't want to push it so far that you do actually lose that desire, if that makes sense.
well, and what I was kind of discovering this morning on my run, now that just kidding, I'm not a runner, but but like you really got to pace yourself. You got to find a really good pace. Like that's why I hate running, because I just start out at like a furious pace, and then I just don't want to stop. So I don't, and then I'm miserable. So, but you got to start out at like a pace that's really reasonable, or whatever, and then gradually, like you just can increase that, and then you just increase your momentum over time, and in kind of knowing, like you said, just doing everything at once. That's like with calories. You can't just eat 4,000 calories at once. If that's what you need to eat in a week, you got to eat it across the week. And because why we always forget things in finals week if you cram is because that's when your body is like, you're under like sympathetic stress. You're forcing this. It's like you're just jamming this stuff into your body for a couple of days, and then you're going to forget it because you haven't really even learned it anyway. So we're always more motivated when we're like under the gun and stuff, but your body is stressed out. And when you're stressed out, your body doesn't operate properly. You don't sleep as well. You don't digest food as well. You don't recover as well. Nothing works as well. So if you can do it over time, I mean, it's like why you can it's like why I can quote The Office, like at all times of days, because I'm never stressed when I watch it. I'm always just like laughing my butt off and whatever, but I'm always really relaxed. Whereas when you really need to want to memorize something, you can never remember it because you're just trying so hard. And it's like you have to kind of let things absorb into you. And if you can do that over time and you're not stressed about it and you're like scaffolding properly, because there's a lot of things that you can do, like a lot of things we have to be really mindful about, like when we're practicing or whatever, like you really have to whatever. But there are some things, and like, I mean, this is going to get into murky water a little bit with like, I would never recommend this for like younger students, but I think better older players, and this is just a concept. So it's, maybe Arnold Jacobs would shoot me for saying this, but like, but there are some things I think you can do in a mindless way, like little tiny things. Like if you're just sitting down and you just play a couple scales and then put the horn away, boom, like that's still going to build like you're still getting the fingerings and stuff, or
my favorite. Do like really quiet long tones forever. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you are building muscular, so I'm not saying, I'm not a proponent of that type of practice at all. But I do think in small doses, if you're really unmotivated, I mean, just go pick up the horn and just do a couple things and throw, put it back down. But if you, or whatever, but I mean, that's better than, okay, I'm just not going to work out for 2 months or play trombone for 2 months. And your body goes to hell. And then you just like want to get back into shape. And it's like, well, yeah, but all you're going to do is get back to where you were, like it's going to take so much effort. So if you can, maintain, and Nolan, I like what you said about the diet thing with the weight loss, because so many people think it's all about how you work out or like how intense you're working out. And,
well, okay, so I lost what, 50 pounds, I think. So in the 50 pounds that I lost 20 of it over like from December to March. And not even 20. I think I lost 10 of it to March. And then I started like actually considering like what I was eating. And then from March until now was when the rest of it came off.
You lost 50 pounds? Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane how like that's how much weight that was.
Yeah.
That's
You know what I mean? Like looking
well,
at
it helps
now,
that I'm a little tall. Most of it was in my legs, so you couldn't see it.
okay. But I mean like your shoulders just look like skinnier. You know what I mean?
And your
Like,
face. I can definitely tell in
your
your face.
You look just really hot, you know, for
Thanks.
just a good looking dude now.
Heck yeah.
But like you're saying about the diet, like those are really small things. You know, you don't have to, like you're saying, you don't have to play 8 hours a day. You just have to kind of eat your fruits and veggies, you know, or, I mean, I'm not really into fruits right now, but, you know, you just got to get what you need. You got to get your proteins, you got to get your vegetables, you got to get your fiber, you got to get these certain things that are going to help you operate. But they're little tiny decisions in the day, but they add up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you eat 4 times a day, that's 28 meals. You know, like how many of those meals are garbage? You know, how many of those meals aren't garbage? And those are like little tiny practice sessions. You know, if you only play X amount of times a week or whatever, you know, add up how good those are. And more little tiny practice sessions of quality practice is better than 1 8-hour session where you're just smashing your head against a wall. You know,
I can totally attest to that.
Yeah. Is that a bruise on your forehead there, Ben?
I have no bruise on my forehead.
Okay.
But there is, I heard in a podcast with Zach Evanesh, like kind of talking about like people who either whether or not you work out or you don't work out, doing one thing, like if you're feeling unmotivated or whatever, doing one thing is literally 100% better than doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just reminded me of what.
Yeah, isn't that the there was a video that went around on Facebook like 5 or 6 years ago of some I don't even remember who it was, but I think it was a military commander. No idea what branch, but he was talking about how like making your bed is
That's
probably
real.
like the single most I mean, I know.
Navy, the Admiral. Yep.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah, was that it? Yeah,
Navy,
I mean, and it's true. Like you do one thing and it just leads to another thing that you want to get done. It's just because you're releasing those endorphins in your brain because you got something done, you check something off a list, whatever that is. And like I find that for me, like working out kind of does that same thing for me in the morning. Like that's still the first thing that I do when I wake up, and then I can come home and like and if I'm not working out, it's like reading my Bible is the first thing I do in the morning, and it's like I got something done. Like I did something, and now I'm infinitely more motivated than I would have been had I just like woken up and scrolled through social media for 2 hours or like just laid down or turned on the TV or whatever.
Yeah, and with that, like I think it's like about control too. Like I remember I had the dean at my undergrad. I was talking to him once and I was really upset about something, and he just was like, you know, just go back to your your dorm. He was like, and go organize your desk, you know. And he was just like, go organize. She said, go clean your room, you know. And he said that like that's what he does when he's stressed out, because it's like that gives him control of something again. Like you can, and you're ordering things and you have control. And that's kind of what exercising and stuff does mentally. But then on top of that, like you're saying, the endorphins, like, I mean, they've done studies that you just learn better after you exercise. Your body just operates better. And that's when I'm kind of at my best, like is like right away in the morning. That's when I get the most. That's when I'm also at like my most creative. But you're really right. I mean, that's when you can make a couple investments in yourself, and then you have the rest of the day to be like, man, like we can just. I just want to keep investing. You know, like you've already built a little bit of momentum. You know, so like yeah, when on my off days, those are the toughest days because I'm usually really sore, and it's like I want to go to the gym, but I'm not going today, and I kind of just have difficulty kind of waking up. Because working out just kind of it's like it just like charges you, just kind of zaps you into
I got to pause us right here. So I got a notification on my computer saying Zoom gave me a gift for an extended, like the 40-minute timer was taken away. Do we want to chance that, or do we want to proceed with part 2 in a different meeting?
I mean, if it told you we got it, then like, I don't know. No, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I got that notification too.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
It actually said that you purchased it.
Okay. I guess we'll roll with it. I guess we'll roll with it.
And if it stops in the middle of a conversation, oh well.
Then we'll know. Yeah.
Well, then hopefully it'll save the recording, because Nick and I recorded last week and it did not save the recording, which was not the greatest, but now we know. So
yeah.
Okay. So anyways, continuing with.
Yeah. Well, man, dude, it's just great to talk to you. Like I kind of went off the grid.
I noticed.
What do you mean you noticed? I don't post anything.
Well, you're texting less. Everything, all the communication is less.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, I've kind of cut myself away from the world, but it's so awesome it's so motivating to talk to you. I mean, it's just like I was telling Ben, like I pretty much only talk to Ben if it's not my family. You know what I mean? Like, so, but I kind of went through this. I mean, I only wanted to really be doing things that were making me better. You know what I mean? And I just said this social media stuff, especially at the height of everything that was going on, like I was just getting real not happy with stuff that I was seeing.
Oh, we're still in the thick of that.
Oh,
I think the pandemic is what got me to delete Twitter finally.
Oh, we'll see. I don't even know what's happening now, but I just don't care because it's not constructive. Like everybody says, listen to me, or they say, listen, but they only want people to listen to them. And so it's like, I want to be more present, and especially because I was alone and I'm still alone. I've been going solo this whole time, but I mean, that ticks you off at the beginning of the day. And it's like, I got goals. I want to get stuff done. I want to become a better person coming out of this quarantine. And I can't do that if I'm just mad. And if I'm, hearing people just, displaying their stupidity, it's, what is it? What's that saying about like, it's better to be, thought of as a fool, silent and be a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just saying, regardless of what side you're on, because I see people that I don't agree with that tick me off. And then I see people that I do agree with. And it's like, man, that's not going to help anybody. That's just going to set the other people off. So it's just like, why would you say that? And it's like, and all anyone is looking for is for reasons to just like tear things down. And I don't know, like, I mean, I think the three of us are very, like, we want to build, like, and Ben, that goes back to the audition thing or whatever. Like, I feel like when you're playing for an audition, that's like kind of playing to the test. And it's like, I just never like to think about the test. I just want to keep playing through it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to just keep getting better. And with all this stuff that's going on right now, it's just so hard to see the forest for the trees. And, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Nolan, it's awesome. We need to. Well, I'm going to be calling you a lot more because I need to start drinking some of the juice that you're drinking.
It's just iced tea.
Okay. Roger that. So okay, Nolan, I don't know. I think Ben and I are both kind of curious about what were your first impressions of the squad. And like, I just kind of want to know what that experience was like for you, because I like whenever I take, like, I couldn't go to Ozark for a month or, however it closed. And I was doing like push-ups and burpees. And I mean, I was doing lots of walking, and I tried to get into running, but I just ended up sprinting, as we've talked about. But when I got back in and started doing the routine again, I mean, I couldn't believe how hard it was. I mean, and I was still working out, and I was still like in good shape. I'd probably lost a couple pounds, but I mean, so I can't imagine someone that's not me coming in
Yeah.
and like just getting thrown to the wolves. And I mean, and it's pretty intense. I'm a pretty intense person in the mornings. So
You're a pretty intense person like all the time.
Yeah.
well, but I just can't imagine someone just staring me down just as I struggle.
It was certainly motivating. You knew that you couldn't stop. That was for sure.
Okay.
I mean, so it,
First
I think
impression.
on the inside, it wasn't nearly as bad as it probably other people seemed to think it was. I remember I told Dr. Mixdorf like who was going to the gym, and he was like, "Wait, you work out with Nick Liebel?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, How do you even keep up?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I don't." But I mean, I don't know. So I had started lifting like even before we did that, and I just knew like that you were pretty big into working out, and I mean like it wasn't until we actually started working out that I realized how much you actually knew about it and how much like research and time you really put into that, which was really awesome for me to see. But I started working out with my brother, and he already was like pretty big into working out. Like he was a baseball player in high school, but he would always go in and do the wrestlers workouts, just because the baseball ones weren't enough. Like it was like what I'm gonna go in and bench press and curl and then leave? Like you kidding me? Like this is lame. So I started with him, and he works out pretty hard. So like I already kind of had an idea of like how hard I would need to work, and I just found it kind of fun at first. So then I was just like, okay, I want to go once with you and just kind of make sure my forms are right, see like what's going on, and then I basically like looked into the window of this entire other world, and I was like, oh wait, I could learn so much if I just like came over here. So I don't know. I mean, like it was definitely a little gym bro-y, but I was having fun with it, you know?
Totally gym bro.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
totally. But I think that warm up was the thing that sticks with me the most, because it was like probably that was like the worst that I felt like of like any time during the day. Like I would just by the end of that, like I couldn't breathe, like my lungs were on fire. I was sweating like a pig, and I literally just woke up 25 minutes before that. Like it was not fun. But like I would look over, and like you and Will were just like going ham essentially, like not slowing down like at all. So I was like, well, okay, if I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna pay $35 a month to be at this gym, and to work out with these guys, I need to at least show them that I'm going to push myself to my absolute capacity, which I don't know that I would have done that had I not been working out with you guys. Because I know that once quarantine stopped, I got into like more home workouts, kind of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still pushing myself there. But once I finally got back to the gym, I noticed that everything kind of just like dropped off. Like my motivation in the gym, like I wouldn't be there quite as long. There'd be like a lot more time between sets of things, and I've eventually worked it back up, but like I don't know, it was a good time. I think just having that many people there, by the end, like how many people did we have? What was it, 6?
Yeah.
6,
Yeah. Yeah, having 6 people there by the end, it was just like, well, I'm not just doing this for me anymore. Like this is for our squad. Like everyone here is working as hard as they can, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm going to be the odd man out, you know.
Well,
and I never want to be the odd man out.
Well, no, and I'll tell you that you were the key, I think, in getting Ben, because
You were. You straight up, like both of you. If Nick wouldn't have prodded and like kind of told me like, hey, like Nolan's doing this.
Yeah,
I
wasn't
would
it
tell him,
the 350-pound deadlift? Wasn't
yeah,
that
I
what
would
it was?
tell him if you set something really good, I would literally call Ben in the car on the way back, or I'd text him. I'd be like, hey, Nolan did this today. And he'd be like, no, and I'd be like, and he'd be
No one's
like,
been working out for 2 months.
I mean, Ben was like in disbelief. I think he was just like, wait a minute, like
I was shocked. Yeah.
no one's outlifting me, and I was like, yeah, like I was like, well, you can just keep going to the hyper if you want, like, you know, or you can come with us, but no, and that was one of my. I mean, I kind of used you a little bit. Like it was like we got to get Nolan just like way strong, because that'll be the linchpin to complete the fellowship of the gains here. So
and it totally worked.
But dude, it was super inspiring. Like you and Micah were really inspiring. Just how like you guys just kept showing up.
Dude,
And
I was shocked that Micah actually like kept coming. Like the second day, well, like the second day he was there, he bought a membership, and I was like, wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like me and Will were kind of on our own like level, but it was awesome that you guys were just still getting it with us and whatever. I was real. That was motivating for me, just seeing, like, knowing how hard that must have been, and like a little bit intimidating. Like that one day that you didn't show up, and I literally called Ben. I was like, I don't know what to do, and then Ben knows what I'm capable of. So
well, and then you passed me by in that hallway, or I think you were setting up chairs for something. I said like, "Hey, what's up?" And you were like, "Hi."
I just didn't want to, I mean, we don't need to maybe get into it today, Ben, but like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough while there, but
what?
I said it was a rough little while
Yeah,
there at my origin.
But honestly, like, it was kind of the kick in the pants that I needed. I was like, no, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. You know, like, there's no I was kind of trying to like half do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if this is something I'm committing to, then I'm gonna commit to it.
Well, yeah, and it was especially like inspirational to me because everyone around me. Well, Nolan, you're older than me by like 10 days, but everyone around me was older than me and a GA. So they're like, you know, y'all were the top dogs in whatever you're doing. And I got to be included in this group. And I don't know, that's why to me, like, cause being around other people is inspiring, like, depending on what you're doing, I think. And that's kind of where I was going with the practice thing. And like the lifting thing, because I don't think of it so much as like lifting for a test or like practicing for a test. But like if you have the community and then you have like lessons, for instance, I miss lessons so much because not only did it like helped me keep me in check, you know, like if I didn't like, I don't know, it made sure that I put in work. But it wasn't necessarily for fear that I mean, sometimes it was for fear that I was going to like totally like bomb my lesson. But it was also like, okay, like here's like one of the greatest trombone players, like telling me what to do. And it's like some of the best like advice, you know, this is some like really good, you know, tips and tricks and whatnot to try out and like different ways to think about music. And you just do it. And you do it because it's part of the pursuit of getting better, which I know that once we like, that's the point of going through school is to like learn how to do it yourself. I don't know, but I don't know. I miss that aspect because I'm not like, at least as of now, I'm not taking lessons or anything. So it feels a little more like loose to me, but I don't mean like, yeah, I totally agree with the finals, like the cramming and finals is bad and whatnot, but I'm meaning more from like a communal and like, it's not necessarily accountability, but it is a little bit like, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's totally accountability. Cause like, I mean, like the gym I go to is like a commercial gym, and it's just, I mean, I manufacture I have to work really hard mentally to like get that warm up going in a small
yeah, I go to Planet Fitness now, so I know what you mean.
Oh, it's even worse for you then. Like,
hey, judgment-free zone. Yeah.
Well, what I love about that gym is that it's all the people that I don't want, like at to be where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, so
Except you, Nolan.
yeah, except you. But but I mean, like I can do my carries, but there's no sled, there's none of those other accessories. So I've been doing a lot of kettlebell work and whatever. I've been really getting into a lot of different kettlebell stuff, and I mean, of course, lots of burpees, and I've been jumping rope a lot. I'm getting pretty beast at jumping rope. Like, not even gonna lie.
Like Rocky.
Dude, that's literally why I'm doing it. There's no, I haven't read any articles on it. It's literally just Rocky 3, Rocky 4. So, but yeah, I kind of forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back to me.
That's okay. That's okay. Are you willing to switch gears a little bit, Nick, or did you want to like search for that thought for a little bit?
If you could let me search for that thought, I promise.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
I been.
Oh, I remembered it.
Okay, go.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, you're saying that you miss the lessons and how now it feels loose. But what I like about being out of school a little bit more is that you don't have checkpoints as often. So I feel like that allows you to kind of work on things in like kind of a long-term way. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I gotta have this next week. It's like, no, like I can just keep working on it in progress. Like I can kind of just keep, you know, it's almost like you can have what's like a mixer board, and it's almost like I can just have more things slowly moving rather than I really got to get this thing learned for next week. You know, you can really hone in on a skill that you want in a while and say, okay, I'm just going to keep working towards that. And you're not like, you know, forced to maybe do something, not in like a bad way. I mean, that's great that you're always having, you know, checkpoints, but at some point I think it's really important to be able to say, okay, awesome. Now, like, let's just set like a longer term goal. 'Cause some things you can't do, you know, like putting on strength, like just actual strength, that takes like time. You know, that takes a couple months of eating a lot, maybe putting on a little bit of weight and lifting differently than, you know, you can just keep getting more cut every week.
Yeah.
You know, something like it's like different things require, you know, have different like growing periods. So I was just,
it's definitely, I've even noticed that, especially like over the summers, I like it a lot. That there are less checkpoints because my goals don't have to change as frequently.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in lessons, like you can go in and 1 week you'll be working on this one thing, and then you'll kind of shift focus. Like, and after a week, at least for me, sometimes that's just like not enough to figure something out. And I mean, I think that Doctor in particular is good about framing different things for you to like continue working towards the same goals. But I mean, sometimes it's just like, no, I want to keep doing what I'm doing on this same exact thing, even though it's not going to change a whole lot by like 7 days from now, but I still think I can get a lot done doing it this way. But I mean, like, then you can get into a whole thing about how music education is structured, and that can be like an entire podcast in itself.
With my job now, like, get ready, like it's gonna we're gonna make it happen, because that's, you know, I have the power to kind of get some of those things changed where I'm at.
Yeah,
for me, at least. But like, yeah, just to top that off, Nolan, what I like is, and I think I just really want to say this word, but like, you can kind of like just be like overtaken by a process. Like, you can just become one with it, you know, not to like, I mean, everybody likes to use that word, but I mean, it's one of my favorite words. But
overtaken?
Like, no.
Process?
Oh, process. Sorry.
Overtaken. Yes. That's my fourth favorite word. I'll let you know the other three later. But I just love that. I love setting up just kind of a rhythm, you know, and a groove and a goal. And then just like, you just kind of go into it, and you can kind of stop thinking about it a little bit, not like in a bad way, but in like I just know what I'm going to do. There's not like, I wonder what I'm going to lift today. I know exactly what I'm going to do today. I wonder what I'm going to play today. I know exactly what I'm going to play today. So it's just like, you can get excited about getting better at those little tiny things and almost mastering them a little bit more, rather than, okay, yeah, let's work on this. Okay, now we'll work on this. Now we'll work on this. Because there's benefits to both.
Yeah, and even a good side effect of having a plan like that is that, like, for a lot of people, and I know I was this way for a long time, but like any hindrance to me getting out my horn and practicing was going to stop me from doing it. Like, even down to the point of, like, if I have to think about like what I'm going to practice, like, specifically, and then what my goal is, I might just not practice, like, because that'd be a lot of work. Like, I can pull out my horn and just like read solos, like, whatever, like that's a lot of fun. I'm not getting a whole lot done, but I mean, like, and I mean, sometimes that kind of work is necessary, but like, you know, I think it's good to have a list of things that, like, you've already sat down and figured out what you're going to do on a specific day, so that you don't have to go through that process even.
Yeah.
And it's just taking down barriers from you getting to your most efficient.
And that
Well,
was
you know?
and that was the biggest challenge with quarantine for me initially. What I was so nervous about was that I had no structure. So it's like, okay, you wake up and you're like, all right, I have all day for every day for the foreseeable future. What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
And it was like, you have to just set up like, okay, like, this is kind of my daily routine. And it just takes away that it almost paralyzes you when you're just like, what will I do? It takes so much mental energy. And it's like, you're right. You got to save that energy for maybe then a day that you do feel like, you know what, I'm going to shake it up and I'm going to read solos all day, or I'm just going to max out today or whatever. But yeah, it takes up so much of that energy that you could be putting into something else. And yeah. So.
And I think that's a lot of one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they get to, like, trying to be productive in anything, is that they don't set a goal for themselves. There's not an idea of, like, what you want to achieve, and that's like why a lot of people struggle with weight loss and like trying to keep weight off, especially, is that there was never a goal to begin with. It was just it's not I want to lose 20 pounds. It was I just want to lose weight. Like, for me, it was, that was my goal initially. And after doing some reading, I was like, okay, no, I want to be down to 170, like, period. Like, once I'm there, I can reassess and see what I want to do. But, like, I want to be down at 170. And it's actually, like, just having that finish line, I think is really important. Cause I mean, again, like, and it brings me back to, like, the sustainability mindset. Like, you can't just keep working at the same thing over and over and over and over again unless you have an idea of what you're working towards, I think.
Yeah.
And you can't see progress if you're changing it every day. You know, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like if you're changing it every day, like, how do you know it's actually working? Like, that's what I loved so much about the routine that we were in, because Will would go, hey, let's do bands today, or let's do X, or let's do Y instead of this. And we'd try it out. And then at the end of the week, we'd see, yep, I like that. Let's put that in, or I'm not really a fan of that. But if you just change everything and you're just like, we're just going to use this for this, and then this tomorrow and this for this, it's like, well, okay, well, then that doesn't work, you know, like, or whatever. Or if you have a bad day and you're like, well, we maxed out when we were doing our deadlifts, so that's why the next 3 days was trash, because you're nervous. Your nervous system was just shot. So you can actually look back and track progress better once you have a routine. And
yeah, if you don't have a control, you can't have an experiment, you know?
And that's what I think with music education. I think that's the biggest problem with, especially that I see with, like, my students, is that they just don't know how to practice. Hey, go practice your instrument. Okay, well, yeah, but how do you do that? Or, hey, section leaders, go take your guys and go work on marching. Okay, well, how do I do that? So I printed out these little cards, and it has 10 things. And it's like a workout card. It says, do this for 10 reps. You know, work on your first step with your toes up, vocalizing it. Do it 10 times. Okay, now do this for 10 times. And then at the bottom, it said, these are the things that you're looking for, you know? And
right.
So it's like, with practicing, we got to give them, like, you know, Ben was telling me about some of your practice stuff that I totally want to get into, about how you have different phases. And I want to give my students different things. Like, all right, are we doing this type of practice today? Or are we practicing this today? Or are we practicing this? You know, so that when they come in, it's like, okay, you know, I'm not telling you to go practice for 4 hours. spend 15 minutes of just really focused practice doing this so we can track the progress and we can build. Not only will you get better, but I'm not even tracking that. I'm tracking how well you're doing your process. Like I want to get you better at doing this little breathing exercise, because if you can't do that, you're not going to sound good, you know, or whatever, or, you know, or just, you know, do yada, 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 or whatever. So it's like, I want you to just finger the scale and say the notes. If you can't do that, you probably can't play it. If you can't count the rhythm, you probably can't play it. So like, you know, we need to build really simple things that are going to be gateways to more complicated subjects. But if we don't even have the fundamentals down, the controls down, then you can't go back to anything. Hey, go practice this. Well, I don't know how. Why? Okay. Well, you don't know how to count, you know, like,
and yeah. And I'm like, especially like with my students, I have a couple of students that I teach online. Like most of the lessons wind up, I'm really just trying to give them a tool like to accomplish what they should be doing in the practice room. So like, and I mean, at the age that these students are, I mean, they're fairly young students, like I think middle school age, and it's like maybe they haven't worked at something that they need to practice at ever in their life. So it's trying to show them, okay, I mean, the lessons are essentially big practice sessions where I'll let them play it through once, and then almost always the first question that I ask after that is, okay, so if you were me right now, what is like one good thing that you would say about that? Because it immediately starts to get them to think about, okay, so now how do I evaluate myself now? They have to think back to like what they're playing, and if they say I don't know, I'll just have them play it again, knowing that that's going to be the question that's coming next, because I'm trying to get them into that mindset of I need to be able to evaluate myself and get better. Because I mean, I hope that they're gathering that if I'm just playing through things for 15 minutes every day, I'm not really getting anything done. But I could take those 15 minutes and run them as if it's my lesson, and you'll start to see how much better they get. And I've noticed that with a couple of my students. It's like after you walk them through it a couple of times, like these exercises are getting so much better, so much faster, you know?
Yeah. Like they don't, like, it's funny. You'll ask them to play like a scale as a group, and then you're just like, what was the best note of that? I don't know. Try again. Let's go again. You know, and it's like, and then, okay, that was the best note. All right. Like, what was great about it? What did you like about it? All right. Can you try to make a note? Like, can we try to make two notes sound like that? All right, try again. Okay. What was the best note? You know, what were the best two notes? You know? And so you're just like, I mean, that's all we really do as teachers, you know, and people are always getting into like, all right, do this and blah, 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 and do this. And it's like, we just need to make them more aware so that they have a goal. Like they just don't even have a goal of what they're supposed to sound like. And they're also not aware of what they're doing. So that's just a match made in hell, you know, like, it's like, so it's like, no wonder you said, you know, this kid sounds like ass, you know, it's not like they're deciding to do that. Like they wake up and I'm just really going to torch this. It's that nobody's ever showed them what they could sound like. And they've never looked in a mirror to say, okay, this is what I really look like, you know? And so I just completely agree with you about the process. And, you know, something else that I think, especially in music that we do, is we sit in the same place or stand in the same place, and then we just do the same thing for hours. And if you go to a basketball practice or a football practice or a baseball practice, there's lots of different drills going on. And the kids are moving and they're doing different things really fast. And 10 minutes here, really focused. 10 minutes here, really focused of what they're looking for. And I think that that's something that I'd like to put into just more of our teaching is less time of just, you know, like bad reps. I mean, I said I was all about reps, and I am, but like good reps of different things, you know, and not, we do one thing and then you talk about it for 20 minutes.
Right.
Right.
Why won't you focus? It's like, well, we haven't built the skill, you know, because the kid has no idea Like, what's going on? That'd be like if when Nolan or Ben, when you guys were starting out, if you do a squat and then I just stop you and just chew you out. Which, I mean, Ben, maybe I did that a little bit with you.
Maybe.
But it's like, no, like, try it again. Focus on this little thing, like, because, I mean, especially like a compound lift, there's components to that, and you also might be just doing something naturally really well, and you might just need to make a few other corrections, or whatever. So it's like, you just got to kind of let them figure it out in a guided way.
Yeah, and I mean, just think about how many steps that you took to get to where you are now and know all the things that you know now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's really easy as teachers sometimes to, like, assume that everything will piece together. If you give the student all the information, it's going to piece itself together in their mind in the right way. And I mean, I don't think it's safe to assume that it will, because, I mean, look at how long it took for us, and they don't have all the experience that we do, and you can learn from what other people are saying just fine, but sometimes you just got to live it, you got to feel it,
True.
Ooh, write that down. Write that down.
So I am writing that down. So you've
literally writing it down.
You kind of got a way, like, you've developed a way over this past. Well, it's been kind of recent, hasn't it? I mean, you've done something kind of like this to incorporate all these things, but like to implement it into your own practice. But what is that like? Because I told Nick about it, and I was like, dude, we got to get Nolan on here to talk about this method, because like it's been helpful for me. I mean, I'll be honest, I've been really lazy this week, but when I have like fully done, like written out the way you've kind of talked about it, like, it's awesome. Like, I feel very productive when I do it. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So I have two little caveats on this thing. It's based on some ideas that I have not substantiated anywhere. You might be able to look it up, but I haven't done that. And I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks, and I'm already kind of wanting to change it a little bit. So I think it's also really good for when you're starting out a process, and I think that as you get closer to whatever your goal is, that it can be changed a little bit. But essentially, I have laid out. Let's go back to like the way that I think about it. So I was like driving around one day, and I had this idea. Like, I was just thinking about like practicing and like working out at the same time, not thinking about anything in particular. And I had this idea that, like, well, it's kind of nice when we work out, because we work out like very specific parts of our body. Like today might be chest day, tomorrow might be shoulder day, and like it's nice that our bodies don't really let us do, or they don't let us just work out everything every day. Like, because you would, like, we have the physical limitations, like we have to recover. Like, and I think a lot of times as players, we don't give our minds a chance to recover from the work that we're doing. I can't point you to any of the specific studies, but I do know that, like, if you give yourself a day or two to forget something and then you restudy it, you will know it so much better, because you had to go back into and find that information in your brain, which is only going to increase the efficiency of which that you can find it. So my whole theory was, like, I bet you can probably learn a lot more if you separate the times that you work on it with days of rest. And then in those rest days, you can work on different things. So kind of like how you do when you're working out. Like, while your chest is recovering, you might go and do a leg day. And you switch upper body and lower body, just so that you can kind of try and get in as much work as you can, as efficiently as possible with the time that you have. So this is just one way to split it up, but I'd split it up into, I think with excerpts, I did 3 sessions a week. And then for solos, I did 4. Actually, I think I have it in my phone here, like the original plan that I created. Where is it? So, but essentially for an excerpt, your first session would be just straight analysis. Like don't touch your phone. Go back over like recordings that you've made of that excerpt. Go over recordings that other people have made. Go through and like do an in-depth analysis of the score and of your part and how that fits in with other things. Even do like a historical analysis. How does this piece fit into like the context of history, and how is that going to inform how you're going to play it? And I mean, that session might only last 20 minutes, but if you're doing that every week, you're going to learn a lot about that piece. And I find that if I don't really set aside that time for analysis, it's just never going to happen, because there's always this like impending sense of dread that you need to be able to play it. I need to be able to play it. So any time that you're going to dedicate to it, you're just going to play it. So I set out this time for, okay, I'm going to analyze it. Then the second session will probably be like woodshedding. So I'm not going to play any longer than maybe a measure of whatever it is. And I'm really going to focus down to like, okay, these two notes need to be connected. How beautifully can I connect them? Like, or how do I want this articulation to be? Bring it all the way down to one note. I want to know exactly what articulation I want for this. And I'll spend 20 minutes working on, okay, this is, can I make this this articulation consistent across this measure? Or can I change articulations quickly enough? Like little, very, very little things like that, or even just down to like intonation. But you're really woodshedding very small little details. And then the last session, out of 3 for like an excerpt, would be like just running. So whether that's running the whole thing and recording it, or just doing like phrases, but larger sections, and really trying to incorporate your own artistic voice into it. Because I think that all 3 of those ways of practicing are really important to developing yourself as an artist. Because I mean, you have to be historically informed. You need to understand how the music works to make like educated decisions about it. You need to be able to have the fundamental technique to perform the actions that you want, and then you also have to practice just speaking, like getting your artistic voice out of the end of the instrument. And I found that I wrote it down, and this is based off of this is what I need the thing for. Let me find it. Yeah, here we go. So I found that you can learn 3 solos and 4 excerpts at the same time, and that's only if you're doing 4 20-minute sessions a day across 6 of the 7 days a week. And like when you think about how much stuff you work on at one time, maybe for a lesson, it's definitely not 3 solo pieces most of the time. But like you could definitely use that to structure how you're like maybe working towards a recital, or working towards like a really long audition list. So, and the way that I space these things out is I won't do like an analysis woodshed and then run all right in a row. It'll be you'll analyze something one day and then just leave it. Like that is work that you just did on that. Like you will have been better. You will be better the next day having done that without even touching your horn. And then the next day come back and do some woodshedding. And then maybe the next day you run. But I actually wouldn't do all 3 in a row. I would put like a day where you just completely forget that it exists. And then
forget that what exists.
The entire excerpt.
Oh, okay.
So then,
so what you're
say
saying,
on Monday.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So what you're pretty much saying is that like you're never going to play one piece for 2 different of those 3 categories in a day.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So okay. Because that kind of reminds me a little bit of like the way that our workout structure was. We're going to do a heavy compound here, but we're going to hit it with a different rep scheme on this other day. And then we're going to do this different. And you're right. And then you just leave it and you you let that recover in your head. And that's kind of awesome. And what I also think is so great about that is that even though you're not hitting it again, like over time, that whole process is going to make you just better at everything that you see.
Yeah, and I've found that to be true. Like especially my wood shedding sessions, I think those are where I really get better. Like and most of those things apply to everything that I'm playing. Like when I'm working on a Bordoni, it's usually like I want to make sure that I can play everything super smooth and connected. I want to make sure that my tone is absolutely consistent all the time, and that's not just useful when I'm playing that etude, which is something that I'm never going to like pull out on stage in front of people. Like not that they're not pretty, but like you're not going to perform etudes for people. Like, but it all applies like everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're not practicing that smooth, pretty playing, you're not going to perform that way.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's why, that's like a challenge with, I think like, I'm just in like marching band mode right now, but that's like a challenge of practicing well with your toes up, exploding off the line. Cause it's like, think about the way that you want to perform for people. Like you never perform as well as you want to because you don't hold yourself to that standard when you're practicing. Like if you're not practicing certain things, you're not gonna, they're just not gonna happen, like, and Ben, that's like a Bob Duke thing. And, maybe we should get Nolan reading this thing and we should all talk about this. Cause I think that's exactly, I think he's in the same vein here, but it never ceases to amaze me. Like how surprised some people are after they perform when it doesn't go well. It's like, why are you surprised? Like, you wanted this to go better than any standard you've ever held yourself to, and you're not reinforcing these habits that you're talking about when you're practicing. So why would you just expect to be able to turn it on? And I believe like, I'm totally a performer that I love being in front of people and playing, like I feel like that supercharges me a little bit, but that's only if I'm like confident and prepared,
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm not, it's just, I don't know. I'm not going to reference exact recitals, but there was one piece that I just wasn't into as much. And I was just like, I'll just end up playing it or whatever. And it was like awful. Like it was kind of embarrassing for me. And and my professor knew too, like, and we kind of, I think I actually skipped a movement of it in the recital.
Wow. That's ballsy.
I know. And but it was weird because like
unintentionally before.
Oh,
we don't have to get into that.
This was completely intentional. But it was just going so bad that I was like, I just got to be done, and so I can tell you guys more specifics about it afterwards, but it wasn't but I mean, like, I don't know, like, I learned that lesson the hard way, like you gotta practice this thing the way that you want to perform it. And I mean, I love the piece now. I mean, and I wanted to re-perform it at some point.
Like redeem yourself. Yeah,
like just personally, because like, I don't know, sometimes I listen to that and it's like, oh, cowabunga.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's just so bad, but yeah.
Well, so I'm like, just so I can better understand this, Nolan, this whole, like, the structure of this. So there's the analysis, the woodshed, and the run, like those are the three like subjects or whatever. So if did you say 3 solos and 4 excerpts over like 6 days? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Okay. That was eventually how I the schedule.
Okay. So when sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So when you're like writing it out, let's just say like me, for instance, let's say I want to play Harry Janos Ride and Till Eulenspiegel and I don't know, Hungarian March, and like the Awayzin, the Spillman, and the I don't know, something else, some other solo. Would you take like from what I've seen of your structure, you have 2 2-hour blocks basically, or two like 40 minute to 60-minute blocks. So when you're doing it, do you have like, all right, I'm gonna analyze. Basically, what I'm trying to ask is it kind of on rotation. So like if you go analyze woodshed perform, do you analyze like ride on Monday and then Tuesday you kind of forget about it, and then Wednesday you'll woodshed on ride and then you'll perform it on or whatever on Friday?
Yeah. So I think I'm not going to remember all the ones that you said.
It's okay.
So like, let's say that you have, um, okay, I'm just going to kind of read off of this. So I have all of my sessions full, which is four like trombone sessions a day, and there are other things that I work on that I put in there. So yeah, you're right in that I do about 2 2-hour blocks every day. But so essentially, I try and keep them in the order of analysis, woodshed, run, just because at least that's the way that it works in my brain.
Yeah.
But so like if I was working on the David on Monday, I would do an analysis block and I wouldn't touch it again that day. And then on Tuesday, I would do like a woodshedding block. And then on Thursday, I would run it. And that would be, that's, well, and since it's a solo, I would get 4 for it. So then on Saturday, I would do another run for it. So then, those are my 4 blocks on it. And on Monday, it all just resets again. But so that you don't do analysis, like only analysis on Monday, I kind of shift things throughout the week. So for some of them, like the schedule will start on Tuesday. And for some of the things, the schedule will start on Wednesday. Like in terms of analysis, woodshed, run. So like here, I can even look at like what I'm even doing more specific to like what I'm doing now.
Yeah, please.
So I've altered it a little bit because I'm not treating any of them as if they're a solo, because I mean I have to play the David right now, but it's only like the first 30 measures or something like that. So I don't really have to worry about like preparing like a bunch of music, so I don't feel like I need as much time with it. So like on Monday I do an analysis of a Bordoni excerpt that I'm doing just for a band's audition. And then I'm doing analysis of Hungarian March. I'm doing running of the Saraband in C minor on bass. And then I'm also running Tuba Mirum, and I'm doing woodshedding on President's March. So like I'm pretty balanced in the type of work that I'm doing every day, but it just depends on which excerpt I'm applying that to. So like on Tuesday, everything kind of switches over to Tuesday is a pretty analysis heavy day for me, where I'm doing analysis on Die Valkyra, Bolero, and Back of Town, which like the trombone thing. Yeah, which is kind of fun. I just go on YouTube and find different recordings of it. He's amazing. And then I'm woodshedding the Bordoni excerpt and the Berlioz. And then those things all kind of change depending on what day of the week it is. But the thing that you'll find is consistent is that there's always going to be an analysis, a woodshed, and a run within the week.
Of everything.
And then there's also usually of everything. And then there's also going to be like a rest day for it somewhere in there.
So if you're like just starting a piece, let's say you're like kind of familiar with it, or like you like notice a spot that's like kind of, I don't know, would you kind of like, all right, like this section's really hard, so I'm gonna woodshed on this since like I'm just starting, and then like let's say you had a Bordoni in there and like you would just run the Bordoni and then other stuff you would analyze, or would you, I mean, because you said, right, to not like analyze everything on the exact same day, right?
Sure. So I mean, I approach all things fairly differently. So like there are plenty of factors to consider, especially when you're going after like an excerpt, like how or a solo even for that matter. Like if there is a particularly difficult section in a solo, it might be worth it to do to almost like nix your running session for that week and just turn it into a woodshed to where you're like, okay, for the next 2 maybe 3 weeks, I'm just going to make sure that I can play this section if it's particularly technically challenging. And I would also probably add something into my fundamental routine too to like work on that. But I would never probably take away the analysis section because I think it's so important for you to develop not only your understanding of the piece, but like your concept of how it should sound.
Yeah.
Because that's it. Once you understand how that technically challenging section is supposed to sound, a lot of times you can almost like leapfrog up to where you want to be. Like then if you had just been looking at the music and trying to translate that into sound within your head, like it's kind of like trying to translate something into Spanish if you've never heard someone speak Spanish before. Like it's really important to know what your goal is.
Yeah.
Which all comes back around in a big circle.
Right.
And it's kind of like when you practice something and then you take it to band or whatever, and then you play it with everybody and you're like, oh, this is how it goes. Oh, I get it now. You know, and like I think that's what that analysis does, because I've gotten into the habit of sometimes like I don't always listen to every excerpt, you know, that like I'm doing. It's just like you just play it how it looks or whatever, and then you listen to it and you're like, oh man, like I wasn't even close. Or you hear somebody else play something and you're like, you've never heard that before, you know, like or whatever. But it's like, but like we do that same thing, and like you're saying, like you just said about the circle, like that's how like all of life is. Like with everything you do, like there's like you got to have a vision for doing that the right way. You know.
Yeah, and specifically in music, like when you look at like. I don't have a piece of music right near me, but when you look at those dots and lines on a piece of paper, like that's not music. It's that's ink on a paper that you need to translate into music. Music happens through air, like in sound. That's the only way that it exists. So unless you know what it's supposed to sound like, you're probably not going to be able to translate it super well.
Yeah, and that's I think a huge problem with kids playing is that they just have no idea like what their instrument is supposed to sound like. Like how many like young basketball, you know, kids or football players don't watch NFL or NBA or MLB and have a favorite player. I know I did. You know, hey Dad, let's go outside and throw me diving balls. Or, you know, throw me pop-ups that I can dive for, like this guy, like Torrey Hunter or Ken Griffey Jr., you know, or like whoever. And, or I'm going to do this fadeaway like Kobe, you know, or I'm going to whatever, you know, or I want to throw like, you know, this guy who throws this type of way or whatever. You have like a concept. They all work, but if you don't have one, it's really hard to know what that you're just kind of lost. But so many kids they don't even know what it's almost like, you know, people don't understand how much potential they have, or like, you know, how much they affect other people, like just in general, like you just don't even know like how much you could possibly affect another human being, like for good or bad, just by looking at them. But people don't even understand like how much potential they have, or, you know, they just set up limits for themselves. But I think that when you listen to something or like you see somebody doing something really well or beautiful, not only does it inspire you, but like it just shows you, oh, that's possible. You know, like after the 4-minute mile or whatever, like the record was broken by a bunch of people because they were like, oh yeah, like we can do it, you know, or whatever. So it's just kind of, once you kind of taste like what, oh, that's what I'm capable of, or that's what this instrument is capable of doing, then it kind of turns less into, oh, I hope I can do that, to where, oh yeah, like I'm just going to do that because that's how it goes.
Well, yeah. And you're also starting to tap into like the way that the one of the more natural ways that you learn. Like when you think about how you learned like the basics of being a human, like how to talk, how to walk, all of that, like you learned it by watching people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you never saw anyone walk like on two legs, you'd probably just be like crawling down on the ground. Like maybe
Yeah.
you might have figured it out, but like it would have taken you quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
And I mean, like in the way that you learn language, like no one's sitting there like teaching you, okay, so this is what the word the means, and here's how you use it in a sentence, and here's why it's really important. Like if you ask me, like tell me the definition of the word the, like there isn't one. Like
Yeah.
it's an article. It makes our language function. Like,
Yeah. And I was
but you don't understand that for so long because you just hear it and you just use it the same way that people around you use it.
right.
And you can do that for, I mean, for everything that you learn. Like I think especially like even for me, like working out, like I wanted my forms to be good, and so I worked out with Nick because I can watch like someone who's been training for a really long time who knows that his forms are good, probably from doing it bad once or twice and then like hurting himself and figuring out the right way to do it. I don't have to go through all that because I can just watch him do it the right way, and I can learn from doing it that like
Yeah.
you see what I'm trying to say.
I actually just started rereading Song and Wind, and I was like in the very beginning of the book it talks about how Arnold learned from his mom because she played piano, and he like got this like tiny little like cheap trumpet or bugle or whatever, and had no idea how to play it, but through his mom's musicality, like she was not a brass player, there was no brass pedagogy going around the Jacobs household, but just by hearing and knowing and feeling music and just like listening to it actively and just kind of knowing how it kind of goes, like that's how he learned to play an instrument. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm super into that like concept of sound thing that Charlie Vernon talks a lot about, because that's like pretty much what we're talking about, but like where you just sit there and you play a note like 4 times and then you move to a different note, and every time like that note has to get better, like but there should be a difference between the first and the fourth note, no matter like the margin of whether it's a small difference or a big difference. Like if you can hear it, or if you've seen it enough time happen, like if you've seen it happen enough times, you can do it. And I'm noticing that as well with my training. Like I've been watching videos of Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, Half Thor, like picking up heavy stuff, like picking up a yoke or picking up a log or picking up a stone, and like watching Alan Thrall and Brian Alsbury do their stuff. Like after watching that so many times, it's like, okay, this is kind of how it goes. And then of course you can get critiqued from there. But like, yeah, I'm super into that, like watch it, then do it, or like,
Yeah, and it just involves less translation. Like
yeah,
if you were to explain to someone how to walk up a set of stairs, you'd probably start trying to explain it, and then imagine like it's a really dumb person. They're like, wait, so like what do you do with your ankle then? And like, wait, what do you do with your like how does that all and eventually you would just go, okay, I'm just going to show you.
mm-hmm.
Because it immediately, like it's the picture paints or a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right.
Like if you watch it happen, there are so many things that you just now understand that you don't need to translate into words, right?
Well, and like, yeah, the same is with jujitsu, and whatever. Like I'll watch a lot of, like, before I started getting a lot better, I'd just watch a bunch of videos and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I'd have to watch them a lot of times, and I took a lot of notes, and I'd be like, I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. And I would do that, boom, 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 or whatever. And now I can watch videos more and I can kind of feel what that's like because I've done it, and it's like, oh, that's what he's trying to achieve, and I know, okay, by putting my hand here, I'm stopping this, rather than, okay, I have to just put my hand here like arbitrarily, it's like I'm doing this for a purpose. And then those things start to add up. So as I learn more moves, or if I'm just free rolling with somebody, I kind of just end up doing some of those things naturally, and I'm not maybe maybe I'm not doing like actual moves on people anymore, but I know like the fundamentals. And so when I learn something new, oh yeah, that makes sense because I got to trap this so that I can do that. Or I don't want them to get into this position, so this is what I'm going to do to stop it or whatever. And so I think, yeah, people doing things is so important. And it's so easy for us as musicians to just like over explain everything to people. And it's like, you know, it goes back to just play something and just be like, does that sound good to you? Like, would you buy that? Like, you wouldn't buy it, play it again, make something better. But if it doesn't sound good, try something new and just keep, you know, like eventually, like, I mean, how do kids throw little baseballs? I mean, you don't tell a 4-year-old like, okay, you know, grab the ball like this. You just say, you know, you just play catch and they just get better as they go. But it's weird how like with music, we just like over explain it, even though we always talk about the beauty of music is that it, you know, music is great because it's where words fail, music speaks. Yet we don't shut up. And it's like, you know, it's just a little bit ironic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Like all of your fundamental technique in anything that you do is the means to an end. So like unless you know what that end is and unless like I think there's a lot of value in letting people just try different ways to accomplish that end because they're almost inevitably going to fail like the first time. And then you go, "Okay, so like can I show you one little thing here that might make it easier? Here, do this." And then just have them try it again. And they go, "Oh, like you don't have to explain to them why most of the time. And it's like they get it. Like they can feel the difference, you know.
For sure. Well, I have a question because I'm not really ready to end yet, but since I have both of y'all here, maybe there's some like high school kid out there or another undergrad kid out there that is curious. But as I said, I'm like kind of like looking on towards the grad school path. And I just want to know like what are some things that I should work like because I'm working on some stuff right now. Like I'm working on some solos and some excerpts, but I don't know like I don't know what should I be working towards to help that out.
I think the first thing to think about if you want to go to grad school is that it's really not about how you play at all, unless you're going to a conservatory. Like a professor is looking to make an investment in you. And if you're going somewhere that you're going to be teaching, hopefully, like they want to know, are you somebody that we want to put in front of our students? Are you somebody that, so, you know, I think one thing that's really important is like try to teach as much as you can, you know, like just to get comfortable with that. You know, especially now with all the virtual stuff, like I would say try to just get more from just get some students, even if you're teaching them for free or whatever. But there's a huge market for that right now. But that'll make you a better teacher, and that's going to end up making you a better player. And I think another thing is, you know, even though you're a year out or however far you are, like I was emailing professors years before I was in grad school. And I was saying, hey, like I'm a huge fan of like everything that you do. What are some things that you look for in a prospective graduate student? You know, like what's important to you? And just say like, I'm really, you know, tell them a little bit about yourself and ask them, put that in their court, see what their response is, because it's not just about you going to grad school, but it's about you finding a teacher that's going to help, that's going to be a mentor for you for the rest of your life. Like I've been spoiled rotten with like the mentors that I've had. Like this first year of like actual teaching now that I've started, like I just have stuff that's always popping in like, oh, that makes sense now. I finally get it because I've been told really good information by the people that, you know, my student teachers, you know, or my co-ops, you know, other teachers, people that you seek out. So you have to take this really seriously that not only are you just trying to get into graduate school, but you're like auditioning them because they're going to be in your life. So, I mean, I know it's like about the trombone degree, but it really isn't about that at all because it's about who you're becoming. Like you can play, if you can get in, you can already play. So it's all about how do you get to that next level. And I think how you get to the next level in music is by becoming a better human, you
Mm.
know, and you become more efficient. I mean, listen to all the stuff Nolan's talking about. I mean, it's just all about how can I get more efficient? You know, it's not about I practiced 8 hours a day, you know, like how much did you practice? It's about how can I make the most of what I'm doing? But that you're not going to have those thoughts just by playing trombone all the time or just by doing music all the time. So I think, you know, finding a really good professor is important. You know, just like finding a good gym or finding a good, you know, place to do whatever recreation that you do. And then the third thing is like, you just got to kind of be ready, you know, like you playing wise, like you got to have that momentum. You got to have that work capacity, you know, you just got to keep getting better. So that like, so that you have knowledge to impart. Like, I mean, I would imagine that Nolan started developing this out of a necessity because he realized maybe there was some inefficiency in his playing that he didn't like. When I got to grad school, I was told you can only practice 3 hours a day because I was just overdoing it. So, but that change ended up completely changing the way that I play. When I went to Texas, North Texas, I completely was messed up as a player, and I was retooled because I had gone so far in another extreme. So I think in order to be to have a good graduate experience, like don't just think about what can I do to get in, just think about what can you do to like have a good relationship with some human being, and how can you prepare yourself to be successful through that, because that professor will be able to sense that about you. You know, like, are you just here to just, yeah, I just want to get a degree and move out, or are you somebody that your vision is something that's so much greater than just playing, you know, just basically at a base level just playing trombone.
Yeah, that's all. That's all really great stuff. And if I would add anything to that, like, and this is I forget. I wanna like give this credit where it's due, but I don't remember where I saw it. But it's like just go down rabbit holes with your own interests. Like
Mm.
you are your own person. You are completely unique from anyone else. Like, sure, you have a lot of things in common with other people, but like there is no one that is you and that has your own interests. So go down those rabbit holes, because those are going to be the things that you're most interested in, or that you're going to be most motivated to do, just because you have a natural interest in them. So like for me this summer, it was like, man, I got really, like, I ran 2 miles and went, wow, this is really cool. I think I really like this. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to go down this rabbit hole for a while. And I practiced a little bit less, sure, but like I think that everything that you can do to learn more about anything, here, let me rephrase that. When you learn more about something, that's going to holistically affect your life. Like you like the better that I get at practicing trombone, the better I'm going to be at learning anything. Or like just the act of learning a new skill is going to come back. You're going to come back to trombone and be better at developing that skill. And I think that, like, especially for grad school, they're looking for people that are able to kind of see the big picture, in that, like, not just can you play the trombone well, but like can you learn well? Like, are you someone that kind of gets it?
Are you
Because most
teachable?
of, yeah, are you teachable? Also, like, can you teach? Do you have interests? Like, are you a person? Like, that's really, that's all these things are like really important, I think. And they all help to just, they all kind of fall in on each other. Like you just start seeing connections in everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just how you make a more intelligent person, I think, is to just find those things that you're really interested in, and then just sink yourself completely into them. Like, I got really into like electronic music for a while, and it was, I just ran that rabbit hole all the way down. To the point, I was reading articles about them and then finding out who the new composers were, listening to all their stuff, trying to write some myself, writing, and now I'm at a point where I can write electroacoustic pieces, which is not a skill that I had 2, 3, 4 years ago, but it makes me look like a diverse musician. But I wasn't ever trying to go after being a diverse musician. It's just something that happened because I let all of my interests seep into the brand, whatever that is, me.
Yeah. Okay. That's good stuff. I also like that. I don't know. I'll have a lot to think about on that one. That's also why I'm super glad we have this podcast, because like after we do it, I like think about all this stuff like afterward. I'm like, I don't know. I just come to my own conclusions about things, or I don't know. Just
yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that don't spend the time to figure out what they like, and I think that's a really important thing to do as a musician. Like, even if the things that you like aren't the things that you should like, whatever, like there are some pieces, and I'm not going to name any of them because people will like lose their minds probably, but like that I just don't like.
Yeah.
Like those aren't things that I want to play. Like some of them I have to play because that's how you like get a job, unfortunately. But if I can find a way to get a job without doing that, oh, I will.
Yeah.
I absolutely will. Like, and I think that there are ways to monetize just about everything, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and I think, to add on Nolan about the becoming a person is like just actually becoming like somebody that is somewhat predictable and consistent. Like, because how many people do we know that are really uninteresting? Like, it's just like that person, like somebody should be able to like make a meme of you. You know what I mean? Like your personality should be so strong that somebody should be able to be like you should be able to be like a punchline. You know what I mean? Because you have an identity that's so like whatever, that people can attribute things to you, or whatever, because I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of people.
And I don't think that that's something that just kind of happens, I mean, for some people like they will unapologetically be themselves all the time. But I think that especially now that we're in an age that is so full of distraction, not to be that guy, but there are so many things that can pull you away from what you actually think into what other people think. And to the point where you need to spend some time like with yourself to decide, okay, what do I like? Like what makes me happy? Not what makes my family happy, not what makes my friends happy. Like what do I actually value in my experience? Because it's a limited one. Like you only have so much time here, and it's really not worth spending that time on things that other people want you to do.
Boom. Holy cow. Nick mentioned that in the first, I think it was our first or second episode, but
yeah, I didn't. I think it was the second one. He was talking about just like time is like your currency.
It really is,
and
though.
What are you going to spend it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm talking to this person now, and I think she is all about. I think that's what's most important. I was talking, Ben, we were talking about how that's what's most important. That's like what's most important, I think, to her. And that's what she told me. She was saying like quality time. And it's so, at least for me, I'm so like mission oriented. I'm so like whatever, that sometimes it's hard to just slow down and just be present and focus on what's around you and just spend that time, but on things that matter to you, like, and yeah, I know. And yeah, I was about to say like, I mean, like I was about to give you a big old amen or something. Like you're like speaking like my language, but because I was about to say like, Ben, he's saying stuff that like we've literally talked about. And then it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, to add one little thing onto that, like I think it's really worth it to expose yourself to as many things as possible too, because like there's so many things that you won't realize how much you really enjoy them until you really open yourself up to it, like with a free mind, and just say, this is what I want to do. Like I'm going to see if this is something that I like, regardless of what the people around me think, you know?
And on the flip of that, to also just challenge yourself,
Yeah.
and like I think just like by asking lots of questions and putting your beliefs like on the line a little bit. Not like you're telling everybody what you think all the time, but you're maybe listening to something that of a person that maybe you don't agree with or that you don't like. And it's like, but to have an open mind and to maybe see from their experience, to like detach a little bit, not to over talk about detachment, but to actually just give that like just a real genuine like thought. Okay, where's this person coming from? Can I benefit from this? Like if you ask anybody on the street, hey, do you like to waste time? Everybody's going to say no. But everybody's really good at wasting their time. Like, so I don't like to waste my own time. Like I want to always be getting better, and you can be, not only will you get better, but your beliefs, will get better, and they'll become stronger when you challenge them. When they're put up against, it's almost like, at the start of the UFC, when the Gracies are fighting everybody, jiu-jitsu, and they're fighting people that have done karate and taekwondo and all these other martial arts that they've never fought each other before, and then we're finding out, okay, some martial arts are not practical, and it's just like, but they've never been challenged. They've never actually had to like stand into the ring. It's like that Teddy Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena, like until you're in there testing it out. And I mean, Nolan, this is a little bit different than what you were saying, I think, but I'm just taking that idea and saying, also to keep an open mind about just challenging your thoughts, just because, especially in today's world, it's so black and white. And, and it's so like you're either on this side or you're on this side,
and it's almost never that basic.
It's always so polarizing, and it's like, let's step back and just, you got to know what you believe so that you can say, well, I'm not just in this camp, or I'm not just in this camp, I'm in my own camp, and some of my ideas maybe most of my ideas are on one side, maybe that is, but it's not because I'm just a part of this group and because it's fun to be polarizing. It's just like, it's just you are just you. And so,
and you're going to learn way more from people that you disagree with than
Absolutely.
you will from people that you agree with. Like going off of what you're saying, when you challenge your ideas, not only they get stronger and you have to defend them, and you will just learn so much more about yourself and about the way that you see things by, opening yourself up to those people that are going to disagree with you.
And about just other human beings. And that's what it's about. It's just about like just becoming a little bit better of a human today, and if you're if you're only talking to people that agree with you, or whatever, like you're surrounded by yes men, that's just no way to be. That's no way to live. And you're honestly like, you're just living a lie. You really are.
For sure.
Yeah. That's why I've really enjoyed listening. I've gotten into Joe Rogan a lot recently, and I haven't listened to a lot of his stuff. I don't know why. I just like didn't really take interest. But like that dude does like all sorts of stuff and like thinks all kinds of crazy things that like I don't personally believe in. But that's what's so cool about his show is that he'll have anyone on there. Like he's had so many different like kinds of peoples on there, like politically far left, politically right, like, race car drivers, UFC fighters, it doesn't matter. Like, and everyone kind of thinks their own like way. And it's just super interesting to, hear what other people think. Cause that's what like one of the downsides, cause like being here in the middle of Kansas, like I'm in like a pretty, I don't know, everyone kind of thinks similarly around here, and which like I'm okay with. Cause like, I think that way too. But not about everything.
With an AR and an American flag behind.
That's right. That's right. Like we definitely are like, like a red state, and like I like that honestly, but it is good to hear, like all these different thoughts and like all these different ideologies and like where do I stand in the middle of that? Because I came a couple months, like probably 2 months ago, I was like wrestling with the concept of truth and where that all comes from. And like I know where it comes from. But it was interesting hearing what lots of people think about the concept of truth.
Yeah.
So, yep.
10-4.
All right, boys. I think we ought to wrap her up. Nolan, you have a YouTube channel, yeah?
Yeah. YouTube channel and an Instagram.
And
They're
Instagram.
both at Nolan.thetrombone.
Okay.
If you search for my channel on YouTube, you actually can't find it because I'm so small.
Hey, us too.
But
Us too.
yeah, but if you find me on Instagram, you can always get the link from there.
Okay.
And I'm starting a YouTube series here. Actually, in 2 days, the first episode comes out.
Okay.
Called Freshman Fundamentals, aimed kind of at aimed at younger college musicians.
Yeah.
And we'll be going over weekly for 8 weeks, just different things that I think are really vitally important to the college music experience.
Dude, heck yeah. We'll plug you hardcore in the show notes.
Sweet.
But yeah, this has been super awesome. Thanks for talking with us. This is
No,
good stuff.
absolutely. Thanks for having me. This has been a great conversation.
I
Absolutely.
think Nolan's gonna have to be like a regular guest on here.
Dude, yeah, we'll have you on like every once in a while. It'll
Sure. Yeah. Only for the best episodes, right?
be
No, yeah, Nolan, it was great to catch up. We'll have to. We're gonna talk more. I'm just not gonna.
Yeah. Don't get on Facebook or anything, but like,
No, I won't.
keep in touch.
I'm not doing that. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
gonna
not
probably.
missing much.
I'm probably just gonna purge both of my social medias before I even come back on. So
You gotta keep the Instagram around though, so you can watch our of Mind and Metal podcast.
yeah, but I made an Instagram and I just follow Jim Markey.
And our podcast.
That's fair.
That's all who you need to follow.
Like that's and Nolan, I'll follow you, but I just
There
go.
you go.
I get a lot of stuff from Instagram, like motivational stuff. So so I just like listening to Jim Markey play trombone. Like he's just
Me too.
Oh man, yeah.
He's great.
So, but all right.
All right,
boy.
good deal. Well, thank you everyone for joining of Mind and Metal podcast, and we'll see you next week or so. Thanks, Nolan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, later, Nolan.
Later.